Want to hear some cool nuggets from last night's game after the Heat take a 3-0 series lead?
Yes.
So the Heat are the first 8 seed ever to win a playoff game by more than 25 points. Seeding began in 1984. First 8 seed ever.
That is believable.
Eric Spoelstra is leading a series 3-0 for the 7th time in his head coaching career.
That's insane.
That's the 5th most by a head coach in NBA history.
That's insane. Like he is so good at what he does. And what was always the knock? Well, I could be good with LeBron and Wade and Bosh. This guy does not field teams that are not competitive.
Nope.
You don't ever see him in a spot like Joe Mazzulla was in last night at the beginning of the fourth quarter where he just didn't know what to do. Joe Mazzulla did not know what to do.
And it's funny to think back to like the beginning of his tenure when he first took over. There was a lot of doubt whether or not he was even the right guy.
Yep.
But he didn't take over a team that is in a Celtics position now that's got 2 superstars that is in their championship window. I mean, the Heat obviously still had Dwayne Wade when Spo took over, but they weren't in a position like Boston's in right now. And then you had obviously Bumpgate the first year with LeBron. They lose in the finals the first year. Everybody's questioning 9-8 start. Is he the right guy? And I would say that he indeed is.
Talking about Spo, I was telling you earlier I was going to get to something. I never got to it. There's Miami latest or 305 latest on Instagram, but they sent out a video as to what a Heat championship would mean this season, and it goes over several things. One of them is Eric Spoelstra becomes the undisputed best coach in the NBA. Now, you can make a case for it right now, whether they win a championship or not. But that is an unbelievable journey that he goes through from video guy to Bumpgate to perhaps undisputed best coach in the NBA.
And that was done with Jimmy being questioned and Bam being questioned. And you always say it. When you got LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, I can coach them. Really, you can't. But that's how people take it as, I can coach them. Then you see what he did with this team. The bubble team, that's another one where you got to look back like, damn, Spo's good at his job. He gets more respect off these last 3 years than he did off the prior 20.
Agree.
I remember a few months ago when you were starting your Duncan Robinson crusade and questioning the rotation.
I would like to talk about him again.
Yeah, I'm sure you would. Great game last night, huh?
Yes.
I remember I said something to the effect of like, why am I going to sit here and question what Eric Spoelstra is going to do with his rotations? Because he's more than earned the benefit of the doubt where, like, if he makes a decision or they do something, all right, Spo.
But I will tell you, we said it at the beginning of the show. I give credit to Spo because he made a decision about Duncan, but then allowed himself this flexibility to get him back in the lineup, even after it was very clear the decision was made. This guy's not worthy of playing time.
Mm-hmm.
He made that decision.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, again, due to injuries, but still, he could have gone other places. And now Duncan did what he did last night, and I mean, looked spectacular doing it. So credit to Spo.
And what about what it says about Pat Riley going back to 2008? We always forget about that. Pat Riley steps down after an abysmal season, Heater plagued with injury. He has Dwayne Wade. He has the cornerstone player to this organization, and they're thinking about his next era with Dwayne Wade. They could have easily gone out and found some sort of established head coach to take over the reins of this organization with a shining young superstar who had won a title just 3 years prior and is coming off scoring the most points for the Team USA Redeem team in 2008. And instead, he entrusts Dwayne Wade's next step in his career with the Miami Heat to a rookie head coach that really, outside of Miami, nobody had ever heard of and was in the video room less than a decade prior to that moment. Like, what it says about Pat Riley to envision this, not just Eric Spoelstra being able to be a head coach, but to ultimately blossom into one of the best head coaches, if not the best head coaches in the league. Pat Riley, we always give him a ton of credit, Heat culture, all that stuff. He's the embodiment of it. But I really think right now we have to put it in that proper context. He saw this in 2008 when nobody else did.
You see this all the time. NBA, NHL, MLB. You see the Marlins are doing it with Skip Schumacher, right? You see this in every sport. They introduce someone. Here's the guy. We see his success in the future. How many times does it work out? Not very often. But how many times does a front office pull the plug? And this is the conversation that Boston's going to have about Joe Mazzulla. But how many times do you see a front office pull the plug on someone before it's the rightful time, or not stand by him in a fashion that allows him to get through difficult times? That, to me, was the shining moment for Riley and Spo, which was Riley stood by him even in the face of I don't want to say a disgruntled LeBron James, but a LeBron James who would have preferred someone else. Talk about it. You have rewritten your entire franchise, and the guy you've done it around, LeBron, expresses some trepidation about who the head coach is. Do you know how easy it would be to make a change?
And he had done it before. Hoch,
yes,
he did it with Stan Van Gundy
himself.
So the precedent had been set. Pat Riley could have easily pulled the trigger and said, I'm stepping in. This is my team now. Several different times throughout the Big Three run when they lose the first 20 games, they're 11 and 10 or whatever it is.
They were 9 and 8.
Right. And then they end up losing the title. And we know, like, LeBron asked Riles, do you ever get that itch again? So, like, the moment was there several times for him. And you're right, he didn't. He stuck by his guy.
Was that not ultimately what led LeBron to leaving here? Was that he wanted more control over things, and Pat was like, no, like, we do it this way here, and that's that. Not to say there weren't other factors, but wasn't that one of the bigger ones?
Yeah, I think there were a lot of things.
Of course, yeah.
I remember Dwayne Wade talking about that time that he spent in Cleveland where for breakfast they were having waffles and syrup, and that, you know, he'd never experienced anything like that in Miami, where in the training room you could have waffles and syrup. Oh. So yeah, maybe LeBron was looking for a little bit more control.
But to everybody's point, it's what Riley does with Spo, bringing in a young guy unproven. It's what he did with all these young guys that developed, even like a Josh Richardson, who disappeared now. I don't hear about him anymore, but he was something with the Heat. You have Bam Adebayo getting drafted, becoming the guy he is. Tyler Hero getting drafted, becoming the guy he is. It's the Heat culture. That's really what the Heat culture is. Kicking ass and being the most conditioned team sounds good. That's what Riley does.
He turned Josh Richardson into Jimmy Butler.
He did.
He really did.
That's the thing. Where does Josh play right now?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's not in Philly anymore, is he?
We don't know.
No idea.
He was the next coming down here, and now he goes to another team. That's not a coincidence.
Not playing right now. I know that.
Yeah, that's not a coincidence.
But I mean, everybody's getting fed up with the undrafted graphic from this whole series. But that's another example. I mean, the entire supporting cast are a bunch of undrafted guys, and that's people are making that as like a slight against them. I don't. It's this weird narrative that's come out.
Spo has turned it into like that. It's a slight, but I don't think it's a slight.
No.
I think it's a feather in their cap.
Yeah, 100%. It's really cool that all these guys have, because you think in the NBA, like, really, if you're outside the top 15, 20 picks in the first round, even then, like, not really guaranteed much in the NBA. Second round pick is a flyer, undrafted. Are you kidding me? And it's this entire team.
I'll just tell you the other things that Instagram account had. If the Heat were to win a championship beyond Spo, there, Jimmy Butler cements himself as one of the greatest playoff performers of all time, any sport. Pat Riley gets ring number 10 overall. Could very well ride off into the sunset if he gets the ring this year.
I saw David Aldridge tweet that he's been involved in 25% of the NBA finals
between
ever
as being a player, head coach of the Showtime Lakers, and a president. Pat Riley has been involved in 25% of all NBA finals ever played.
That's royalty. You talk about basketball royalty.
Udonis Haslem retires with an NBA championship in his final season. How about this one? Kyle Lowry wins another championship and has to enter Hall of Fame conversation.
What a job he's done in this playoffs, by the way.
Oh, my God.
Total turnaround for everybody, but like for Lowry specifically.
It's the Bobrovsky story. I mean, he was, slandered for 2 years, Kyle Lowry, and not worth the contract. And how do you get out from under it? And all of a sudden, during these playoffs, you're not where you are without Kyle Lowry.
He is so key in his role off the bench for this team. He really is.
But the Hall of Fame, I get you. What was that? I think it was game 2 when he came off and kept him in the game through the second period when he had like 9 points in a row. I understand. But that gets you in the Hall of Fame if you weren't?
He's a Hall of Fame.
Couple of championships, and his numbers, I'm guessing, Solana, probably merit Hall of Fame conversation.
Kyle Lowry's a Hall of Famer. I don't know if he's first ballot. Kyle Lowry will be a Hall of Famer.
but does he need this to put him over the edge? That's what I'm saying. He's a great basketball player. I didn't know if this can put him over the edge of that.
Hall of Fame dump truck too.
I think it's great call. Great call by you.
Yeah.
He's got some sit down. he took a charge last night that ultimately got reversed, but he took a charge, and I said to my son who's watching with me, I go, man, you got to have some kind of guts to say who was coming at him.
Robert Williams.
Williams. I go, you got to have some guts to stand there and not flinch. And DJ was like, soft landing. not that gutsy.
He built this. This is built for this.
Soft landing. What else? Kevin Love is anointed a genius by getting a buyout from the Cavs, specifically to join the Heat.
You know he's never lost a playoff series.
So if he makes the playoffs,
an Eastern Conference playoff series, excuse me.
Right,
he's never lost an Eastern Conference playoff series.
If he makes it to the Eastern Conference.
No, if he gets back to the NBA Finals, he has still never lost an Eastern Conference playoff series.
He was in the West.
Right.
Well, no, because when he was with the Cavs,
Cleveland,
and
yeah,
LeBron,
I was saying he lost when he was playing in the
right.
In the
they got to the
right.
NBA Finals every single year. They only lost in the NBA Finals.
And by the way, the other thing on Instagram, Miami becomes a huge free agent destination, which we kind of think that they are anyway, although you see examples where they're not. But they write the entire Heat culture idea is validated.
It's validated right now.
Well, people love to pick at it, though, right? That it's such a creation of Miami fans, that Heat culture, and people like to make fun of it. If they were to win a championship, it is so validated that it's almost funny.
But even look at the run they've had and who they've had to go through. The 1 seed, a Knicks team that everybody considers one of the best Knicks team in 25, 30 years. And then the 2 seed Boston Celtics, who the ESPN analytics still had the Heat at like 20-something% to win the series today after going up 3-0. But they're such huge underdogs, 8 seed, winning the way they are. To me, from us, obviously, we felt Heat culture was a thing before this year, but to me, it's already validated, regardless of if they win in the finals or not.